ladies and gentlemen, Gungans and droids across our beloved empire. Oh, pretty good to be in the empire today, if you ask me. And we got quite the interesting news that you need to know about with Galaxy Heroes. First things first, Rogue One is getting a buff and they're getting an Omicron. And I think on top of what we're about to read about Jyn Erso and her unique ability, Fierce Determination, getting a rework that's going to benefit even outside of the Omicron, and on top of the Omicron as well, being in that unique ability. I have a feeling we're going to be getting some more Rogue One stuff soon, as we're going to take a peek in a moment. And on top of that, very interesting stuff as well. The Executor is getting buffed. So I guess, you know that CG, they're making sure the Executor stays on top of the game. But the oddity of this is that it's being buffed against something that doesn't quite exist yet in Galaxy of Heroes. So either there's a new ship, new capital ship coming down the road that might be challenging the presence of the Executor. They're going to make sure it's at least one step ahead to remain competitive. Let's hop on over and show you what we got. I want to start off with the conversation of Jyn Erso as well as the Rogue One Squadron. Long story short, with the Rogue One Squadron, should you be gearing them up? No. There's never been really a reason to gear them up except for the reason of ships. Biston, Scarefield Pathfinder, incredibly important cornerstone to the Rebel fleet. Maybe not that important with the new Outrider Dash Rendar ship coming to the game. Hard to say, but up until now, that's the only reason to gear them up. Otherwise, Cassid and K2, maybe you'd gear them up for the reinforcement because they do have a good reinforcement. Otherwise, PAL maybe needed for Mon Mothma, definitely one of the core lineups to that. And Shrewd and Baze, if you were playing the game back around 2016, they were meta, but they fell off after about a year or two later on. Otherwise, this team isn't needed for any legendaries, anything big. So there hasn't been really a reason to gear up, and I think that might be a possibility for them to take advantage of that missing piece, making you gear up a faction to have it for that sweet moolah for maybe something down there. Because we know Cassian is getting his TV show. Speculation is maybe this summer 2022. It's scheduled for 2022, but not a specific release date to my knowledge. But Jyn Erso is going to be the first one to lead us down this new path of potentially rebel righteousness. So why don't we go take a peek at that, and then we'll take a look at the Executor thing, a very weird thing with the Executor. Hop on over. I want to talk about the Zeta first. She's getting a rework that's also going to benefit the Rogue One that can be used in any game mode. That's the most important thing. It actually fell under the radar. No one's been talking about it. It's not even on the front page of Reddit because, well, Outrider is a bit more interesting, I suppose. I mean, this came out a few hours later. But the Zeta tier is pretty trash before. If you applied the Zeta to Jyn beforehand, you would just give her the anti-stun, which wasn't really even good when it came out originally. Keep in mind, there was no Grand Arena back in 2016. So they weren't really arena meta. Squad Arena was the core back in the day. Grand Arenas pulled that attention away. But nonetheless, now with the Zeta, no Omicron, Rogue One allies are immune to buff immunity, which is applicable in all game modes. And it's not a lot, but it's kind of important. Rogue One is a very buff-heavy team. They're meant to get tons of buffs going because anytime they're getting a buff, they're recovering 5% protection. As we're going to see, buffs are going to be important to feed some other stuff with the Omicron down the road. So it might not seem a lot, but before B2 would literally just shut down Rogue One. And if you got buff immunity even from TIE Fighter pilot, you're not doing a whole lot with this team. So that's the important thing. Rogue One's gonna be anti-buff immunity in any game mode, but the Omicron. And I just gotta reiterate, anytime I see an Omicron kit reveal, my heart drops. Yes, Imperials have hearts, bigger hearts than Rebels. Keep that in mind as well. Rebels are treacherous traitor terrorists, as you guys might know, but then nonetheless, it's a side point. As you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of Territory Battle Omicrons for sure. I don't think there's really reason to go for Territory Battle Omicrons. Territories, I'm very lukewarm about them. It's a game that only happens 4 times a month, and the rewards aren't really that meaningful. Relic 9s, okay, cool. Not that important in the game right now. It's an extreme luxury. Like, you're not missing out on much if you're missing out on Relic 9s in the game right now. I'm sure it'll be more important down the road, but again, 4 times, you're not getting a lot of use. Grand Arena happens 3 times a week, 12 times a month, and there's crystals associated with them. I have almost every Grand Arena Omicron at this point. They're really good, and they're a lot of fun. I get use out of them. Nonetheless, let's read this Territory War Omicron. And I gotta say, the benefit of this, the nice thing is, it's unique ability tied to it. So if we get a better Rogue One leader down the road, which We'll talk about that. You'll at least still get use out of it, because it would suck if you had this on the lead and then let's say a character came out that was a better lead for Rogue One. Well, that was a waste of an Omicron. So that is the nice thing about this. It's tied to the unique ability. Anyways, while in territories, Rogue One allies gain 30% max health and potency and 20 speed. Speed boosts are always nice. Whenever another Rogue One ally's buff expires during an enemy's turn, Jyn Erso gains 10% turn. So if B2 keeps mowing away your buffs, Jyn is getting a lot of turn. Sucks it's just for her. Would have been cool if it was for the whole entire Rogue One team that gained turn. That would be really nasty at that point. If all allies are Rogue One at the start of the battle, whenever Jyn critically hits an enemy, all allies recover 10% health and gain an additional bonus depending on their role. If you're an attacker, you gain critical damage up and offense up, which Rogue One's filled with a lot of attackers, oddly enough. Tanks, you get critical immunity and taunt for 2 turns. And this is great because there's no more buff immunity. Your Bays and your Scarefellow Pathfinder, they're always gonna have ways to keep taunting over and over and over again. So kind of cool. I like that. And then support or healers gain evasion up and speed up for 2 turns. And this is kind of the odd one right here. This is the odd one right here. But point being is Jyn Erso should be getting a lot of turn meter, hopefully. And she's got usable speed, and she'll be able to critically hit a lot, which will keep triggering these taunts. Because the problem about Bays and Scarefellow Pathfinder before, when their taunt goes away, you can't really get it back on easily. This is gonna make those taunts taunt a lot more than they're normally used to inside of the game. But hop on over here. It's a little odd. There's not a lot of support or healers. Funny enough, Chirrut isn't considered support or isn't considered healer. It's an attacker, which back in the day made sense. He was, I think, the first character to hit for over 100,000 damage. This is before Gear 13 and all that. I don't know if Gear 12 was in the game, because he came out late 2016. Terror Trails didn't come till 2017. So before all these big Gear 12, Gear 13 relic things happened, he was hitting for over 100,000. Pretty gnarly. That's why he was meta for a little bit of time, but oddly enough, no supports here. Biston's attacker. Cassian, I believe, is an attacker. Or he supports. So we do have one other support character. We got Cassian for that matter, so he'll at least get the speed up here. But that's tank, that's attacker, attacker, tank, tank, attacker, and support. So there's really only 2 support characters. It seems a little weird that there's only 2 of them that are going to be benefiting from it, where there's a lot of other guys here for attackers, for example. Nonetheless, it doesn't seem superior. It would have been nice if Chirrut was relabeled as a support character or healer, because man, he's already a fast character. Chirrut's 173 base speed is what I believe he has, which is still fast to today's standard. So if he gets that 20 speed, ooh, you could probably have him start off really quick, get tons of buffs on the field, set yourselves up with tenacity, upheal over time, whatever it might be. Chirrut also feeds tons of buffs to the team with this unique ability. Every time a ally is being critically hit, rebel ally, they're getting heals over time. So there's a lot of buffs on a team, which is why anti-buff immunity is important. Random side note I want to point out, I wonder, even though it's anti-buff immunity, I kind of wonder, is it going to be able to prevent things like, for example, Imperial Probe Droid, where it doesn't have a buff immunity per se, but target lock through the unique ability prevents buffs. So I wonder if they're considering that, or maybe not. Maybe that's still another way to work around it. Overall, yeah, we can kind of sit here and think of how this could be a somewhat useful Omicron, but since it's not Grand Arena, keep in mind, Grand Arena's meta landscape is a lot wider than territories. Keep in mind, for example, a full guild only needs to put 2 fleets down on defense for the most part. Put 1 in the front part of the back zone and 1 in the other part of the back zone, and you got all of your fleets left over. Grand Arena now for Kyber needs 3 fleets on defense, 3 on offense, and the character meta for territory is not nearly as wide as for Grand Arena. I don't quite know. Where is this team gonna find a way into territories if they were even going to be used? So right now, the way things stand, the fact that this is not a faction that's needed for legendaries, needed for galactic legends, yeah, they have a couple of good ships for the most part that might be worth looking into. And the fact that their Omicron's tied to territories, I think this is definitely passable. I'm not seeing the reason to go for this. At least if Omicron's like Phasma, for example, it's already for a faction you have geared up, a very popular faction. So it's the cherry on top. This is the cherry on top of a pile of poo-poo, if you ask me. Again, I know I'm trying to be very family friendly. I could have said a lot of other words there, but I do want to point this out. We do know there's a Cassian show coming out this year, Endor. I think it's around summer 2022 is when they're planning on releasing it. And I got a suspicion we're going to see more Rebel love, more Rogue One love, and probably even new characters. And especially for a faction that it's not really a faction you have to gear up. It's a big opportunity to make money, and I got a feeling we're going to see things like Garrera sometime in the future. And this is a character a lot of people have been asking for as well, so keep your eyes peeled. I think it's nice. It's part of the unique ability. So let's say, for example, Garrera does come to Galaxy of Heroes. Well, that Jyn Erso, that unique ability upgrade for the Zeta, as well as the Omicron, well, you can get more use out of it if there's going to be a Far Spear Rogue One lead. Right now, Jyn Erso is the best one for Rogue One, and it's not really seeing a whole lot right now. So right now, I'd say pass it. If it was Grand Arena, I'd be slightly tempted, but it's even for Grand Arena, it's definitely a hard sell for me. Let's talk about the Executor. It needed a buff. It was just way too darn powerful. But funny enough, it's not really being buffed for anything per se going on right now. And the developers did outline that it's not going to really make much sense right now. As they say here, not only is this not immediately clear how this works when you read the kit, but it also breaks some of our core design rules around how preventing buffs, debuffs work. The interaction does not work the same way in other parts of the game. It is important to correct from a consistency standpoint. Again, our goal is for no change in overall balance for Executor's existing matchup. So it's weird because it's not getting better with the current landscape. So it seems weird that they would talk about this, and this is where it comes down to. Executor's getting a change. Executor will now dispel breach immunity. A breach immunity? Well, where's that? And if you look at the current abilities we have in game, ability block, advantages, blind, breach, I don't see a breach immunity. We have buff immunity, but not breach immunity. So breach immunity is something that we're seeing for the very first time in textual form. And it would make sense if you're going to create something that's at least as good as the Executor or the most consistent way to counter the Executor. You want something to slow down breach, because more breaches equals, well, you're going to see that lovely thing that's not a moon, aka the Death Star. So this would make sense in the fact that there's probably something down the pipeline that's going to give Executor a bigger run for its money. But anyways, let's read it. So right now, here's what you're getting. When the fleet is applied 20 target locks, you're able to dispel breach immunity, and I always call it chafe. I know it's not chafe, but it's more fun to say that, to applying lock, breach, and target lock. This is a minor change to address that should have little to no effect on the balance of fleet matchup. So really all you're seeing is right now, this is what it's going to show. New functionality. When allies inflict target lock for 20 times, it will now first dispel breach immunity and then chafe, and then apply target lock and breach. So this is just weird. Breach immunity, it's like, you know, it's like saying we're gonna buff Lord Vader to be anti 360 no scope. It's like, or what 360 no scope are you talking about? We don't have that right now. So there's got to be something that they're taking preliminary measures to make sure that the Executor doesn't get completely washed away, and it has a way to quickly try to, I think if anything, this is gonna try to alter the lineup a bit, try to get more target lock heavy teams, to get rid of that breach, and then get those boundaries to start spamming breach, start breach after the breach immunity has been dispelled. Interesting nonetheless that we have here. Other minor things I want to bring to your guys' attention here. We know that the Outrider's coming. We're going to be doing a test later on this week. I didn't think the Rebels needed more love. They've been doing really well in the fleet landscape. We'll see how it goes. Maybe it's going to be more important for this breach immunity ship that's coming down the line. Ty Enchilada is going to be in fleet packs and shipments. Ninth Sister is going to be farmable in Galaxy Heroes Light Side 3D. Now the Inquisitors are they're a bit inquisitorious right now, I gotta say. But out of all of the Inquisitors, the Ninth Sister is my personal favorite. I've been getting use out of her because of her unaligned force user. I can use her as Star Killer, and because of her Kenobi-like tank attributes, I can use her with Empire characters. I've used her with Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine, for example. You can use her with Lord Vader. So this is the character that's actually kind of nice outside the rest of the group. It's not like a very needed thing. The Second Sister, not really all that impressive for me in the game right now. She's farmable, but as we know, these guys are going to be needed for the future. Grand Inquisitor, at least Ninth Sister. It's not 2 thumbs up, it's a thumbs up character, if assuming that there was no Grand Inquisitor. So nonetheless, definitely important. And the time has come. Bad Batch is now officially starting to become double drop farmable. It's approaching the year release date, and Hunter is going to be starting us off with the accelerated drop rates. Bad Batch, solid team for sure in the game. They beat a lot of things. Not the best non-legendary team in the game, but definitely close for best non-legendary team. And this is a team, of course, you need to get if you're pushing for Lord Vader, which kind of a passable Galactic Legend, but there you go. Double drop rates. I love this game. I have a lot of fun with the Bad Batch crew. Very useful inside of Galaxy, so it's great seeing it. So we'll start seeing over the next couple weeks the rest of the crew. I believe afterwards, I think Tech came to the game, then Wrecker, then Echo is the last one. So over the next couple weeks, we'll start seeing these guys become double drop farmable. And Omega's a little bit later. I think she didn't get released till like June or something like that. It was definitely a little bit later in the cycle of things. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for today. Ladies and gentlemen, Guns and Droids, a lot thrown at you today. Jyn Erso, more Rogue One coming, saw Garrera. And what the heck is Breach Immunity? I think I want to know just as much as you. Leave that like, comment down below, and all your thoughts. Be sure to subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And as always, until we meet again, just remember that it's great to be in the Empire today.